Then they looked at China. China had three massive advantages. First, hundreds of millions of workers willing to work for very low wages. Second, a government that would build roads, ports, and power plants wherever companies wanted them. Third, special economic zones where foreign firms could operate with fewer restrictions and lower taxes. Western companies poured in. Nike, Apple, Dell, Sony, you name it. They all built factories in China, or contracted with Chinese manufacturers. But China didn't just accept being a cheap labor pool. This is what people miss. Chinese companies watched, learned, and started doing it themselves. At first, they made cheap knockoffs, but they got better, fast. The government played a huge role here. They identified key industries they wanted to dominate: electronics, solar panels, high-speed rail, telecommunications. Then they did everything possible to help Chinese companies win in those sectors. Subsidies, cheap loans, protection from foreign competition in the domestic market, forced technology transfers. Some call this cheating. Others call it smart industrial policy. Either way, it worked. By the 2000s, China wasn't just making cheap toys. They were making computers, smartphones, cars, and high-tech equipment. The phrase "made in China" went from meaning cheap junk to meaning everything. Today, China makes about 28% of all manufactured goods in the world. They produce more steel than the rest of the world combined, more cement, more solar panels, more electric vehicles. It's insane. This is not just about cheap labor anymore. In fact, Chinese wages have gone up a lot. So why do companies still manufacture there? Because China built something no other country has: a complete industrial ecosystem. Let's say you want to make a new smartphone. In China, you can find a factory that makes the screen within 50 miles, another that makes the battery, another that makes the camera, another that makes the chips, another that assembles it all. They're all connected by fast roads and efficient ports. If something breaks or you need to change a design, you can have someone at the factory in an hour. Try doing that if your screen supplier is in Japan, your battery maker is in Korea, and your assembly is in Vietnam. It's a nightmare. China also has millions of engineers and skilled workers. If you need to hire 10,000 people to ramp up production, you can do it in weeks. Try hiring 10,000 skilled workers anywhere else that fast. You can't. This ecosystem took decades to build and is almost impossible to replicate quickly. It's China's secret weapon. What China created is something economists call state capitalism. You can watch the full video I made on that on the channel. It's not pure socialism because there are private companies and markets. But it's not pure capitalism either, because the state controls key industries, directs investment, and can crush any company that gets too independent. The biggest companies in China are state-owned enterprises, or SOEs. They control banking, energy, telecommunications, and transportation. These companies get cheap loans from state banks, preferential treatment from regulators, and protection from competition. But private companies exist too, and some got huge. Alibaba, Tencent, Huawei. These are tech giants that rival American companies. This model worked incredibly well for rapid industrialization. When the government decides to build something, it gets built. No debates, no lawsuits, no environmental impact studies that take years. They just do it. High-speed rail is a perfect example. In 2008, China had almost no high-speed rail. Today, they have more high-speed rail than the rest of the world combined. Over 25,000 miles of it. They built it in less than 15 years. Could this model work elsewhere? That's the billion-dollar question. Some countries are trying to copy it. Others say it only worked because of China's unique circumstances: huge population, authoritarian government, and timing. Let's just run through some numbers because they're almost unbelievable. In 1978, China's GDP was $150 billion. Today, it's over 17 trillion. That's more than 100 times bigger. In 1978, 88% of Chinese people lived in extreme poverty. Today, it's less than 1%. Life expectancy went from 66 years to 78 years. Literacy rates went from 66% to over 97%. In 1978, China had basically zero foreign investment. Today, they're one of the biggest recipients of foreign investment in the world, and they're also investing trillions abroad through initiatives like the Belt and Road. They went from producing 2% of global manufacturing to 28%. Chinese tourists went from basically zero to spending over $250 billion abroad each year before COVID. China graduates more STEM students each year than the US, India, and Japan combined. These aren't small changes. This is a complete transformation in a single generation. China's rise changed everything. Global supply chains run through China. Your phone, laptop, clothes, and probably half the stuff in your house was made there, or has parts made there. It shifted geopolitical power. For 200 years, the West dominated. Now there's a real competitor. The US is freaking out about it, which is why you hear so much about trade wars and tensions. It also proved that maybe there's more than one path to development. The Western model said you need democracy and free markets to get rich. China said, "Hold my tea," and did it with an authoritarian government and state-directed economy. Whether that's good or bad depends on who you ask. But it's definitely changed the conversation. Thanks for watching. The video I made on how China built an insane hybrid economy is on your screen now. Click to watch. Like, share, and subscribe to keep watching Audio Point.